Hello everybody, welcome to the sound test stream. Today we are taking a look at Logic Pro for iPad and a project I'm messing around with, which literally just uses loops and some session players here, some drums, bass and stuff like this. What I like to do is arrange this stuff, so I can't take credit for writing it because it's written by Logic. Basically it's their loops, their session players. I'm just arranging it, so it makes me work on arrangements and production, which is really good. So this is what I have so far. I will change some of this stuff around in a bit. This is what I've got so far. Okay, so doing this type of thing will make you a better music producer, and it will make you a better arranger and a better engineer. You can't help it. You just practice with this stuff and you'll get better and better at it, which is good because when you come to arrange or produce your own songs, it really helps to have an understanding of how to construct tracks and stuff like this. But like I said, none of this is mine. It's all loops and stuff. So for example, this first track here, listen, let's listen to it. Okay, I think what we'll do is set up a kind of a loop point where there's nothing else except for this first guitar. And I've already done some bits and pieces to it, so I don't need that on. So let's select it and have a look at what's going on here. So there's no effects or anything like that. I have, as you can see, panned it slightly this way, and all it is it's a loop. In fact, you can probably find that loop. I'll show you where they are. I selected guitars and acoustic, and it's down here somewhere. Here you go. If I stop this, I used several of these, I think. Yeah, that's that one. And then that one I used, and I used this one. But I'll show you what I did with this one here in a minute. So yeah, just let's do something with this, shall we? So I'm going to add in a chorus. So let's go to modulation, and I'll just use the standard chorus here from Logic. Okay, I'm also going to add in a little bit of reverb, I think. We'll put in the new Quantec. Super, dead simple. And I think also I will put in a compressor. Let's just open that up a little bit. Okay, so that sounds a little bit nicer than the original. Solo this and put a little bit of summit on this as well, so I think probably a tiny bit of delay, so just a stereo delay. And where is my mix for this? I can find it somewhere. Here we go. And a little bit of reverb, I suppose. But not much, we don't need a lot. Okay, let's solo this one as well. Then I brought in this piano. Which was just the Studio Grand session piano. So the piano is the Studio Grand, I think. Yes, Studio Piano, Studio Grand. Might have done a bit of messing around with the EQ, doesn't really matter. But what I did do is, if you take it down, you'll see at the very beginning here. So I'll make this slightly bigger so you can see. I did a kind of a trick which is super useful and really, really important for making your loops and things sound more realistic. And you'll see why in just a sec, right? So if I'll just delete this one here. So we'll just delete it. Right, now I've got these 4 chords. So at the moment it would say if we unsoloed this, and it just comes in from, I don't know, wherever here. Let's take that off a sec. And then the piano would just come in. Very nice. Oh, here we go. Right, so there, chords. I've got some chords as a global track, and it kind of just stays the same all the way through. D minor, A minor, C and G, dead simple. But the thing was that if you were a pianist or a guitarist or whatever, or a drummers, you tend to come in before. There would be some sort of fill that you would put in if you were a pianist. There, you know, in the first bar before this. So there's a way to get around this. It's really cool. And just make sure you're selected on duplicate. Drag this and drag it over like that. Okay, we can expand this even more now. So then what we want to do is we only want a fill on the previous bar before it starts bar 17. So we'll just drag this in like that. Okay. And if we make sure we're selected on what we want to make adjustments to, we go into edit, and here now we can say, well, how do we want our fill to be? So this section, if we look, is the same as this section at the moment. So maybe I want the fill to be more complex, more of a fill amount, more complexity on the fill. And then the style really would be complex. And we could also say, well, do we want this to be, if I've got chord patch, change patch switched off, otherwise everything kind of changes. We could have it arpeggiated broken chords, but freely is fine for this kind of vibe. If it was arpeggiated, it would play an arpeggiator here. But you see, we've made, you can see adjustments been made here if we have this quite complex, right? And then we can choose the range. Well, maybe you don't want too much bass range in that fill, right? So we'll take up this a little bit. Movement can be large range of movement across what we've got. So now when we test this should be quite an interesting fill that'll then calm down when it goes into the main section. So for example, from here, we can go like this. So that sounds really nice. So like I said, then it goes into that kind of main section. But if we kind of drag in this, we can then start to just play around with this one section. So let's just have this loop. And then we can go, well, okay, what can we do with this? Regenerate it. And maybe you go, well, okay, maybe arpeggiated. Okay, that sounds better. So now when we bring this back into the main kind of thing, let's unsolo it. You should get a much nicer fill. And then it will kind of, let's switch that off, start on this main sections kind of thing. Awesome. These two, what I did with these was originally it was just this one. So if I just solo just this one track, right, and select it here, you'll see it's hard panned left. The original thing kind of, I think I might put some delay on or something. Yeah, I put some delay on, but it's neither here nor there. This is what the original was. And then I duplicated it, so we get this one as well. And then I panned, like I said, the first one hard left, and then this one hard right. Now, if we go into our inspector here, this little button here, and we make sure that we are selected on either or of these, and we make sure that when you want to make adjustments to an entire track sort of thing, make sure you kind of select the whole thing like this. Okay, so on this one, you'll see that it says delay -3. What this does is it shifts the, if I put these back onto, say, now, just to be both 0, and I'll go on to this one as well. Make sure I kind of select all of those, and the delay is +3 or 3. I'll take this down to 0. What happens, right, if I play both of these now, they're just going to be they're going to sound exactly the same. So there's no real difference. But what the delay does, either or, like if we listen through headphones now, it's delaying these two, it's delaying this one against this one, so you hear the stereo balance better. Now you don't need a lot. Let's go with this one and then make sure all of these are selected and take the delay down. Now you've got much better stereo separation over those two tracks, and this is better. This sounds more natural, and this is what they used to do in studios years ago. They'd get the guitarist to play, I don't know, X amount of chords or whatever he was playing, and then they'd get him to record it again exactly the same. But human beings don't record. You never play the same thing twice exactly the same, especially on like guitars or pianos. So when they pan them hard left and right, they'd sound really good. You'd be able to hear the stereo separation. Of course, with digital copying, that doesn't happen. So you have to offset them somehow. So we have a delay function here inside of Logic's inspector for those tracks. So that's good. So that now gives it a much better feel. If we take this off now and unsolo these, when we go into that section, you hear better separation on those guitars. So that's much nicer now. And then you can then just go into your main mixer if you like and make adjustments to the actual mix. Now listen to the bass. So I did exactly the same thing with the bass as I did with, if I like get some sort of loop point going here. I did the same thing with the bass as I did, I've muted it, sorry, I'll just solo it. The same thing as I did with the actual keyboards, except with the bass, I only had half a bar. So instead of, well, no, I think I did have one complete bar. There's like 2 bars on that piano, possibly. Yeah, so I could have chosen this and just had it play for the 1 bar. That might sound better. But the bass goes over 1 bar as well. So now the feeling is much more natural. The bass player comes in before the start of the next natural sounding point where they want to come in, right? So you get this kind of thing. And then into the thing. And you'll notice that on this one as well, if we go in and see what I did, you'll see that there's not a lot of complexity because it doesn't really need it. But I think on the details, I had loads of slides. So get the doom, doom, that kind of thing, you know, bit of humanization, but not a lot of complexity. It doesn't need a lot of complexity. So that was really, I thought that sounded really good, actually. So coming in where it did. And then on this one, of course, if we look at the differences between my main part, there's a little bit more complexity on the intro, and then the complexity drops and it's kind of dead basic stuff. Then, you know, there are some slides because this is nice sliding up and down basses and stuff, especially if it's kind of, I don't know, country feel, I suppose it is. Yeah, so that sounds quite nice. And then on this third one, I could have showed you this. Let me just select this region again, open it up. On the third one here, I go more complex again. And I don't know if we did another one, but probably on this last one here, I could push the complexity even further and the intensity. And where it says I could go most notes and I could add some octaves in, and the phrasing I could take back down to medium. Okay, so let's just do that. So now this one will be a completely different feel to this one, and the track will build kind of up. So let's hear what this is. And again, the same with the drummer. I just took this back, took it down to 1 bar, increased the intensity in the fill stuff for the drums, so you get a drum fill before the actual next section starts. And all these little bits and pieces and stuff, they all go to making it more realistic as a band would play it, sort of thing. And, you know, you can also control the humanization, which adds even more control. So, for example, if we look at this, let me unmute that bass as well. If we look at this in the editor, the drums, you could go into details here and push the humanization a bit further up. You could have it push or pull a little bit. You know, you could throw in a few more ghost notes if you like, that kind of thing. You can also go into the actual instrument itself, the drum kit designer, and change all the settings for all the drums. I mean, I've done some snare tuning up a little bit. I increased the gain on the kick, but also increased the dampening because I didn't want the kick ringing so much as it was with this particular drum kit. All them little bits and pieces that you can do just to make it sound a little bit more realistic than just arranging a bunch of loops and grooves. So, for example, now, if we run the bass line, if we run from the beginning, let's just scroll this in. If we run from kind of around here, we'll hear this bass come in, and you'll hear the bass. Well, you can see as well, the bass is going to get more and more complex as it progresses. So. So that sounds really quite nice. If this is a kind of vibe you like. Now, you'll see that the piano kind of stops there. We don't really want it to stop there, you know. It wants to go on a little bit. So again, we can make sure our duplicate tool is selected here like this, so that when we pick it up, we're not just moving it. So if this isn't switched on, you're literally just moving this stuff around. Okay, but we'll leave that there like that. And what I'll do is make sure my duplicate is switched on, and then, on. And then I can duplicate this stuff a little bit like this, all the way to the end. And then you can take bits and pieces out. You can arrange it. Maybe you don't want one of these instruments in, maybe from this point here. So you could go, right, well, okay, I'll select a bunch of those and tap on them and delete them. And let me just undo this. It don't matter. I can just copy this piano over. It's just only I was selected on that as well. So, and then you can get more and more complex. So, for example, maybe this first one, if we select it here, go into the editor, let's take the... Well, what am I on? Arpeggiated for all of this. What was I on for this? Arpeggiated. Well, I'm going to take the complexity down, and I am going to change the patch to freely. Now, this first one, I'm not sure why that's not changing back, but never mind. Oh, hang on a sec. Just deleted all that stuff. So let me just undo it. I'm going to choose this, make sure the complexity is down, choose this next one, turn the complexity up a bit. So what am I doing here? Right. Did I have, I know why. I had all of them selected. So take this to arpeggiated. Select this one is on freely, but we'll have it down. This one, complexity slightly more and increase the range a little bit as well. This one, more and increase the range even further. And in fact, if we look up now, voicing can be root and fifth, style can be moderate, fill amounts can be more. On this one, we can go complexity much higher, range wider, movement can be large range, and it can be complex, and we can do this as well. And then on this last one, we can go full bore, full intensity, super wide range, style can be complex, and movement can be, we'll leave that on medium just for change. Full complexity can be right up there. So the piano will now get more kind of busy as it goes on. Now, what have I done here? Let me just move this. I don't want to copy it. Let me just move it to the end. And this one here, I'm just going to extend this over, keep them. And oh, do you know what? I'm going to delete them too, because otherwise I'm going to get into a right mess. Here, select this. Select. Come on. Move this one and move this one. You see what I've got here? Snap is off. So I'm going to snap to grid. And I'm snapping to bars. So cool. So again, just to check on this next one, I want to bish that up a little bit. And yeah, we'll leave that on moderate. And then this last one here, complexity, intensity, wide range, complex. Hopefully now the whole thing will sound a little bit more kind of natural, and it'll change the vibe up here because we'll have taken out this guitar, this cheerful mandolin. Let's listen to it from the beginning. Okay, and that's basically it, except for this drum track. Let me just have a look at what's going on here. Yeah, it's okay. I want to go to I've got a mastering assistant on as well, so for the entire output, the entire mix sort of thing, but it's turned off at the minute. So let's open a mastering assistant and run it again. Maybe go back just to like kind of here and yeah, and it's too loud. So need to see what happens if I reanalyze. Oops, turn it on and reanalyze this now. It might make a bit of a difference because I've changed since I put the mastering assistant in. I just look at the CPU. I changed the I've changed a lot of this stuff up. So hopefully now it should sound okay. Okay, creating mastering chain. Okie dokie. And I'll leave it on and see what happens. So. It's the mastered output. I'm turning it down for your benefit. And then if you're not happy with that, which I'm not, I don't think that sounds great, you can reanalyze it. Or, of course, you can use some sort of other mastering app you have or something that you might find better. But the point is, play around with different arrangements for all this stuff. And apart from it's good fun, you'll get better at doing this kind of thing. You'll get better at mixing, you'll get better at engineering, you'll get better at producing. Take your time just to do even little tiny bits, and then you can start putting little ornaments and like cymbal crashes and stuff like that. It's all good fun, but Logic makes this real simple because it has so many loops and things and different styles of music that you can kind of just play around with, you know. It's great. It's great for this kind of stuff, you know. It's good fun and you learn a lot. Oh, it's good. Anyway, guys, top job, cool beans. I'll play through it again without the mastering assistant. I'm not happy with them drums at all. I think maybe either too loud or maybe a different drummer might be better. Anyway, doesn't matter. See you guys later. Ta-da.